One Piece chapter 1052. And to say that this was, whoo, if you read it, you know why I'm feeling and why I'm responding or acting this way. My body can't control itself. My body. Typically, we're going to start off with the cover story. Cover page. Okay. Cover page. We see Germa and Ichiji. And lo and behold, the person that we've been saying has been missing in action for a long time, Gangster Gastino, apparently is still in Whole Island. He never really left. I know he is tripping right now because he's like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect time to get out. And now we have Germa invading and it's still difficult for me to get out of here. So interesting cover story, but not nearly as interesting as what happened in the chapter this week. So let's get to it. The Gorosei, they're talking about the Nika. And it's like, whoa, the Nika finally emerged? I was like, hold on. Gorosei, I know you guys are old and you've been in power for a long time, but that's how you treat your people? But they said the Nika finally emerged, right? The Nika finally emerged. And they say 2 emperors have fallen, and they say they won't be able to cover up the news, and that people are going to eat this up. They talk about the timing not being any worse, and I assume it has to do with the Great Cleansing, but also them basically abolishing the warlord system, so they're stretched thin. So what now? Right? What now? When they were talking about the elephant, Zoe, being gone, and that the person who chose to keep Wano closed has some wit about them, where basically they said if they'd open the borders of Wano, that means it would be easier to invade. It's like, well, sure, but then the elephant could just destroy or dismantle these ships in no time. So I was like, okay, I guess. But these guys, if Momonosuke was going to open the borders, those ships were not stopping that. But something I want to point out to you guys, the Gorosei know a little more. They know a bit more because for whatever reason, they talk about the elephant being gone. And the elephant being gone, they somewhat equate it to, oh, the borders is just going to remain closed. In the story, they're acknowledging this move to keep the borders closed as a big brain play by Momonosuke. And that's something we talked about, that one of the reasons could be that there's ships out there that Momonosuke is like, you know what, I don't want to do this right now. My country isn't ready. But of course, Zunisha could have gotten rid of those ships at any time, in my opinion. I mean, I think that's true. I mean, either way, it's weird because them talking about the borders closing and somewhat connecting it to Zunisha not being there anymore. I'm like, okay. As we go on to Gorosei, they talk about the plan and how they modified their plans based on the situation at hand. That's when they praise Momonosuke. But then they also talk about, okay, with all that going on, we still can get Nico Robin, right? And lo and behold, as the chapter goes on, I'm looking for Robin, can't find Robin. And the reason why Oda is playing with us is because there's no way Robin is captured or kidnapped or, God forbid, dead, and they're just having a party casually. No way. They would not do that. So Robin, I believe, is currently reading poneglyphs and researching, doing what she knows best, doing what she loves to do. That's my interpretation of that. We did have a very interesting scene with Hawkins and X-Drake, where Hawkins is beaten up, of course, after losing to Killer. X-Drake, he's been through the ringer as well. Now they're having dialogue. Killer is asking him about being a Marine. Drake is asking him some things about being a pirate, just being morally right. Hawkins talks about Kaido, and if he saw Kaido was going to win, would he go crawling back to him? I mean, it's indicating that Hawkins does retain his sense of pride, but he talks about the 1% man, something we've been talking about a lot on this channel. I even made a video talking about Hawkins and the 1% man because I foresaw it being very important. For the most part, it has not been, and Hawkins is really saying, well, I was the 1% man all along, which was interesting because he was fighting with so much conviction and not switching sides, even though he knew he was the person that was going to be the 1% man, which is a good and a bad thing, right? Because if you're at 1%, you know that you're going to survive and you're going to be on your last leg. But the bad part about that is, again, you're on your last leg. You could possibly die. And Hawkins here, it seems, I don't know, he could be dead. I don't know. If Hawkins is dead, I think that would be very impactful just because of what Hawkins meant as a character. And I think these last couple moments, in some way redeemed him, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, early Hawkins, like Act 1 was phenomenal. Then he tapered off as the acts continued. But Act 1, he was on it, he was efficient. He faced Luffy and Zoro out of it, right? He was pretty damn good. But I think just how this ends, if this is indeed his end, wow, what a way to go out. Pretty much on your own terms, how you did it the way you wanted to, right? It's been 7 days since the war. And I was telling my chat that I made a video, right? Talking about a time skip and then how Oda can use this. What I mean, use these 7 days and use them in a way which is like, okay, I didn't say 7 days, I was saying a month or 2 months. Use this time without having to explain Kaido and Big Mom right now. Because by using this time, we've gone past it. You can go back at any point and tell us what happened to Big Mom and Kaido. You don't have to say it right now. So Oda going on to do that makes a ton of sense. Either way, I like that they're going back to their roots, showing them or talking to them about the true history of Wano, the true heroes of Wano, the people that stood in places the way they shouldn't be, or places in which they weren't welcome because for the sake of the country, Kyoshiro, Kumasaki, they were not who we thought they were because they were sacrificing for their country. So they're teaching all of these things. Something that's interesting is that the person, or what's being spread about Kaido being defeated, is that it was done by Joy Boy. And that Joy Boy, his heroism, it rivals that of Ryuma, which again builds Joy Boy and builds what it means and what Joy Boy represents, right? I absolutely love them building another shrine for Odin. He deserves it. Obviously, he saved this country numerous times, and ultimately his sacrifices led up to this point. Him doing what he did led up to the point where Wano is now liberated. So them building a shrine, just like the god of the blade in Ryuma, it makes sense for Kozuki Oden. Now, we had some deaths, right? Izo and Ashura Doji. Ashura Doji, for the most part, you saw it coming. Izo was a bit different because I didn't think Izo was going to die at all. I thought Izo was going to live and that him and Kiku would have, moments together after the fact, and he would leave and wander off and never be relevant in the story again. Izo is dead, and Marco has yet again lost another crewmate, and Marco arguably is one of the worst doctors in the series. I don't know what to do with this guy. Either way, how do these deaths feel? I didn't really care much for Ashura Doji after Act 1. I think he had moments where he was questioning things, right? Internal conflict, a somewhat external conflict, external uncomfortability that as a character or someone that enjoys characters you kind of love. For Izo, he's pretty straightforward, does some cool things by shooting King's sword out of his hand and had cool speeches and sacrifices, but I never thought he would die just because we didn't connect as much with him. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Izo, and we have deaths at the end of the arc. People did have an issue with Kiku not being there to somewhat see Izo off. I mean, it seems like they already had a ceremony and now it's just formalities talking about what they're gonna do. But Izo dying for his country it's not bad by any means. It just feels lackluster, But either way, it's not a problem. It's not an issue whatsoever because it's heavily outweighed by a lot of the great things that happened in this chapter, right? See Momonosuke and Hiyori again doing the same exact thing. Hiyori just drop kicking him, but because Luffy and Zoro had woken up. And of course they don't recognize Momo. Momo's an adult and he's not in his dragon form, right? So he's trying to talk to Luffy and Zoro. They look at him like, who's this guy? Or he's like, I'm Momonosuke, right? What's even funnier than that, we had a moment with Momonosuke, and of course when he was younger, he was gripping the Nami's titties and he was like, oh, that's adorable. Now he's an adult, a grown man. She's like, bro, you don't get away from me, right? It's interesting, but we kind of saw this coming. I thought this was pretty neat. Sanji's and Brooks' reaction, perfect, right? Because they're like, finally, you see what we have to go through, right? We can't just grow up and grab her panties and grope her, right? That's weird, right? But that was kind of the gag. That was kind of making it more endearing in a way. Yamato putting plates on Momo's head is basically trying to recreate his dad's hairstyle. I think it's cool how they talk about how much potential he has, how strong his body is. Momo says he's going to work very hard to become the strongest samurai in Wano, which indicates to me that he isn't the strongest right now. Just because he got older doesn't mean he's the strongest. I mean, I think probably Kyoshiro is probably the strongest swordsman in Wano right now, outside of the Alliance, right? Of course, nobody can really compete with our guys, but Kyoshiro right now, I think. But Momonosuke, I think, will 100% get there. So a quick area of contention in the chapter is where Nami pretty much asks Yamato to join her in the bath. Yamato says the castle doesn't have mixed baths, so she's not going to join. Kiku then, however, says that she will join because she needs a bath. So now we go to the bath scene. Again, I don't want to touch on this too long because it then becomes political, but it was just like so weird to see Yamato in that bath with the men, just bare, spread eagle, everything is just available out there. Sanji's literally dying. Brook is losing his mind. Jinbei just looking at it like, pretty, right? It's interesting because people would say, if you don't think Yamato should be doing this, oh, you're transphobic. But on the other hand, I'm like, okay, Kiku can do whatever Kiku wants to do because Kiku is a female. At least Kiku has been handled that way, and even in the Vivre cards, all this different stuff confirms this. For Yamato, it's more open-ended. It's more Yamato wanting to be Odin. I just want Yamato to think for herself, what do you want, right? Other than just being Odin and sacrificing this different stuff for Odin. But either way, it was just jarring, and I think that's what Oda was going for, especially on Pride Month. He was trying to highlight some of the moments in the story which it could be seen as ironic or really cool, clever, whatever. Go to the females bath scene, and again, Kiku is there. Everyone's there for the most part, but it's a lot more chill and reserved. They're like, man, they're making so much noise over there. Something I'm surprised about is that they didn't talk to Yamato about this and like, hey, gotta go with the women. And I'm not gonna get into the Yamato versus whatever. That is what it is. But it's so much happening in this chapter. We can then jump to Law and Kid, right? Where they're talking about basically people finding out about what they did there. They talk about, hey, we did this, so we're going to have a large target on our backs. And they say we can't let this information leak. Well, lo and behold, it's already leaked. And what's been leaked is basically your updated bounties and the names of people who have been dubbed Emperors of the Sea. So next chapter, we should get bounties and future emperors, like people dubbed already, because for all the government, time has passed, right? But they cannot be seen as vulnerable. And for them, the balance is somewhat important. So they are reeling. They've been reeling for a while, man. I never thought we'd get here, right? After Wano and after Luffy and the others beat Kaido and Big Mom, for them to just dub a new emperor a week later. Like, I didn't think that would happen. I thought things would just basically spin into anarchy, but they're trying to hold off a bit longer, I believe. So, I mean, it's crazy, right? Emperors next week, bounties next week. That's not the end of the chapter. There's some more great stuff coming up in this chapter, right? We see someone on the phone with Sakazuki. They're asking their exact position. Of course, they had it at Silhouette. By the end of the chapter, we see Green Bull. He is on his way pulling up to Wano. Now, what comes of this? Who the heck knows? Because I don't think he's going there for a fight or for, confrontation. I think he's legitimately going there for reasons. People are speculating Green Bull is from Wano and all this stuff. I'm not going to go that far, but I do think he has reasons why he's doing it. This is actually insane that Green Bull is here now, because I don't think a huge fight breaks out, but it's going to be a showcase, right? You show his face and then it's a quick showcase. Nothing much comes of it. Green Bull drops some lore, but I don't expect much here outside of just hype and lore. And that's what I love about One Piece at times, right? I really love about One Piece all the time, lore and hype. The common theory right now is that Green Bull has a plant-based fruit because of how he was flying. Was speculated based on his eating habits, where he doesn't need to eat really because he can use photosynthesis. But we gotta wait and see. I mean, I think it's gonna be incredible. Green Bull is pulling up to Wano. Is like Nico Robin is something as well that people have been talking about. It's like she isn't as prominent, but I think Oda's as part of his play, right? Where it's like, okay, she's not here. I mean, it's Green Bull. We haven't seen anything he can do. We haven't seen his face. I think it's going to be a very explosive next chapter, right? It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to watch it with you guys. Give me your thoughts. How do you feel about this chapter? What resonated with you? How do you feel about Yamato just going in the mill bad? But again, guys, give me your thoughts. Make sure you like the video. If you did, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoD8. Follow me on Instagram, BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys all so much. Again, guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost.